Join me as I dive into the shocking comments a Nigerian man made about Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, and Libya. Can I break down what he really meant? I recently came across a video where a Nigerian man made some very interesting, or should I say, eyebrow-raising comments about some countries in Africa, and I just had to share my thoughts on it. One of the central issues raised by this man's comments is the stereotype that many Africans have about each other's countries. He mentioned how Ghanaians are often seen as being laid back, South Africans as being arrogant, Kenyans as being proud, and Libyans as being, well, let's just say a bit too full of themselves. But is there any truth to these claims? Take Ghana, for instance. Many people assume that Ghanaians are laid back because they're perceived to be more relaxed and easygoing. But is that really the case? Ghana has made significant economic progress in recent years, and its citizens are actually some of the most hard-working people in West Africa. Another issue is the lack of understanding about the complexities of each country. The Nigerian man's comments, for example, seem to suggest that South Africans are arrogant because of their perceived wealth. But what he failed to consider is that South Africa is a country with a very complex history, and that its people have been through a lot to get to where they are today. Then there's Kenya, a country often seen as the economic hub of East Africa. The Nigerian man's comments seem to imply that Kenyans are proud, but is that really a bad thing? Shouldn't they be proud of their achievements, no matter how small they may seem? His comments about Libya were perhaps the most surprising of all. He made some remarks about the Libyan people being full of themselves, but what he failed to consider is the rich cultural heritage of the Libyan people and the significant contributions they've made to African history. I think it's interesting to examine the cultural nuances of each country he mentioned. For example, did you know that in Ghana, respect for elders is a huge part of the culture? In South Africa, Ubuntu, or community, is a fundamental value that guides many aspects of life. In Kenya, meanwhile, the concept of Harambee, or pulling together, is a crucial part of the country's social fabric. And in Libya, the tradition of hospitality is renowned across the continent. Each of these countries has its unique cultural practices, traditions, and values that shape the way people live their lives. By understanding these nuances, we can begin to break down the stereotypes and misconceptions that often divide us. One of the most impactful parts of the Nigerian man's statement was his comment about how Africans often prioritize their differences over their similarities. He said that until they learn to celebrate their diversity and recognize their shared humanity, they will continue to be divided. I couldn't agree more. What resonated with me the most was his call to action, urging Africans to look beyond their national borders and recognize that they are all in this together. It's a message that I think everybody needs to hear more often, especially in today's world. To summarize, the Nigerian man's comments, although provocative, highlight the need for us to understand and appreciate the complexities of each country. By shedding light on the cultural, economic, and political aspects of Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, and Libya, we can begin to break down the barriers that divide us. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any thoughts on the Nigerian man's comments, please share them in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about the cultural nuances of different countries, be sure to check out my video on the strange school rules in Japan. I'll put the link in the description box below.